Welcome to the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist. I'm not a minister anymore. The call went off my life and I received that without any problem. I didn't do anything wrong. I just knew in my mind that it was time to step out of that part of my life. So I just share my information and my experiences with people on the channel. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us the spirit of timidity, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Excuse me. God hasn't given us the spirit of timidity, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Now, you need to understand that timidity could have to do with boundaries. It could have to do with really objectively looking internally at yourself. And that's where everything starts and finishes, doesn't it? By looking at yourself. And this is the hard part for people. Some people just will never ever get to that point where they internally examine themselves to work out where they're causing disruption for themselves and others. And he hasn't given us a spirit of timidity. Some people don't even realize they've got a spirit. Did you know that? The Jehovah's Witnesses don't think they've got a spirit. Jesus certainly had a spirit, and God is spirit. And those that will worship him in spirit and in truth. And so when we turn to God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, timidity has to do with fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. The power and the love will come out of, spring forth from a sound mind, essentially. But at the same token, if you're receiving power and love, listen to this. If you haven't got a sound mind and you meet somebody that has, and you're receiving the power and the love from that person, that supply of power and love, it can begin to help you to receive a sound mind. I've had experiences with many, many beautiful women over my life, and I've been privileged to share in their lives. And I've met some women that have been in pretty bad states when I've come along. And in some cases, I've actually watched demons leave and watched them get better and watched them to progress and come into a place of peace. So several of them played forgiveness music and others rain and storm music, which I didn't mind. I didn't mind that. The forgiveness one was pretty humbling because that lady really wanted to have a soft heart. And she did. She did have a soft heart. And so you can watch these people heal if you've got a sound mind. You have to have a sound mind. Some women like people and like men that are on drugs. Doesn't normally work out for them. But they like men that are on drugs or drink because they like to self-punish. And then that's not going to bring them any healing. It might bring them a sense of lust and desire. You'll find what I found was very interesting. Most of the women that deteriorated in my relationships, good, caring, loving women at the start, that lost their way one way or another through unresolved. Resolve, such a powerful thing. I noticed that they met men that were, how can I describe it without, they were on a lesser level of life than what I was. They were on a lesser platform of life. They hadn't navigated life well. And the reason for this is, it can be several reasons. Some women will have shelf people from behind them that they keep on a shelf that they can fall back to. Because a lot of people, when you split up with them, they don't necessarily go forward to find someone. They might go back 3 or 4 exes, or they might have friends that they've put on a shelf and kept them in a position where they're going to be a convenience for intimate supply. Because some people, when the relationship ends, they have to self-soothe by finding anybody they can to intimately share with. I don't like to do that. I like to recover, do the post-mortem on the relationship, check myself thoroughly for where I went wrong or what I could have done better, and give time to heal. Because there's no point trying to build anything else until you've healed. And that's, I find, God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. Rule number 1, don't fear yourself. A lot of people are scared of themselves. And that's why they try and present themselves through somebody else. And the somebody else may be a lesser version of what they are. Because sometimes it's easier for people to meet people that don't expect them to reach their potential. Because it's easier. Taking drugs is easier. Drinking alcohol is easier. Facing yourself takes a lot of muscle, mental, emotional muscle. Because the negative traits that you have within yourself, when you face yourself, if you're not fearful of that, build you into having a stronger understanding and a better way of navigating life in a way in which nothing interferes with your mind. Because everything comes back to your mind. Everything comes back to your mind. This world has to destroy your mind. To get it over you, it has to destroy your mind. Now, I know a lot of people that make good money, right? Good money, but they've got nothing to show for it because they didn't know how to navigate their mind. I'm telling you, it's a fine line, but everything comes back to your mind. Everything. Not some things, not a few things. Everything comes back to your mind. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. We can face ourselves. Don't worry about facing anybody else before you face yourself. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Of power and of love and of a sound mind. Does that mean that power and love can lead us to a sound mind? Is it a sound mind that helps us to produce a clearer, stronger output of power and love? I've never had my partners complain about my output of power and love, intimacy. They've never had an issue. Even after breakups, they were still respectful of that part of my life. And it just, it's just funny how relationships work out, because I've had a few women now where we've sat and watched videos on limerence, just to make sure that we're trying to build something that's going to last. We've watched other videos that have taught us different psychological things that might help the relationship last, and they'll do that. They'll sit with you and they'll learn. But life's got a way of making things manifest that may not be easy for these people or myself to be able to cope with. One thing I can't deal with is unresolved. If you put unresolved in front of me, somebody's going to get hurt. Because I try and navigate my life in a way in which I don't put myself in a situation where I need to resolve. Usually what I find is people around me cause shit and behave terribly and put the partner in a position where they can't find resolve for one reason or another. And you try and be tolerant with that, and you try and see if there's a way out of that. But unresolved is usually the beginning of the end. And it's not something you plan, it's not something you want, and it's not something that you would think would beat you. But it does. That's why people drink unresolved. They're not facing themselves. Drugs, unresolved. There's something inside them that they don't want to face about themselves. But God hasn't given us the spirit of fear. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. But of power and of love and of a sound mind. When you go through a breakup, there's several different ways in which people deal with it. One is they can go straight back onto the dating sites and find somebody that they can bang. The other one is they'll go backwards and look for shelved people that they've got on the shelf or an ex, and try and find some soothing through that. But a lot of people don't know how to self-soothe. They don't know how to self-soothe. And part of the reason for that is they haven't looked after their mind. The secret, I believe, to life in the future, if people want to be successful, is to look after your mind. Because at the age of 57, going on 60, even at the gym and at work, I always tell the young boys, please, of all the decisions you could make, don't let anything interfere with your mind. I've had some terrible things happen in my life, usually by external reasons. Most of my relationships are running well, and then some external or fucking stupid interference will wreck them. And you try and be tolerant, and you try and work in with people, but some people you're just not going to be able to work in with. And that's unfortunate, but you better have your mind in order, because that's what happens in a breakup. You are going to be severely attacked in the mind. And if you're not reading your relationship properly as you go, if you're not walking the path of the relationship fairly and squarely for that person that you're with, because you don't want to be on somebody's back all the time. That's just cruel, and people don't like that. But at the same time, you can't be negligent either. There are people that will just turn their back on everything, and then all of a sudden their legs are swept out from underneath them, and they don't seem to know why. It's because they're just negligent. They're just not got any foresight, and they haven't got, they're just distracted by meaningless things. A relationship, if you're going to go into one, is an opportunity to share in the magic of another person. And I always believe that if you're going to do that, you present yourself in a way in which that magic is going to be worth somebody's attention. And if you're a lady or a gentleman watching this right now, I'm going to tell you something right now. It all comes back to a clear mind. You can put your life on somebody with a clear mind. The jet pilots and the precision people of this world, the ones you can trust, have a clear mind. 9 times out of 10, the ones that are going to cause an accident, or there's going to be unresolved, or something's not going to get dealt with, or there's some negligence going to be not having a sound mind. They're going to be on the dope or the, and I'm not picking on these people. You do what you want to do. I'm just saying, if you want to have a successful life, get past all the things that life tries to take from you. I know I've had women that have been bashed up. I've had women that have been robbed. I've had women that have hit me. I've had women that have tried to rob. Well, one did rob me, but tried to rob me. I've had, you name it. It works both ways. But at the end of the day, what you better have is a sound mind. You better have a sound mind. All right? I'm telling you, everything comes back to you. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. It's easy to say, but can you believe it? But of power and of love and of a sound mind. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. 1 Timothy 1:7. But of power and of love and a sound mind. I can't tell you how many times I've quoted that scripture. Thousands of times. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. God hasn't given me a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. And this is all relevant to not just a relationship with him, this is the result thereof. This is something you apply to the relationships you have with the people that you are intimate with, to the person that you have at that time. You want to present yourself in a way in which they can see that you haven't got a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. If you got people from your family or the person that you're with's family turning evil on the relationship, they may not like your partner, or you may not be liked by someone in their family. It doesn't matter, because God hasn't given you a spirit of fear, but of power and of love. And guess what? A sound mind. If somebody's acting as the billy goat and being, self-centered and selfish because they're not getting the attention that they're used to, guess what? God hasn't given me a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Right? So they can make up all the stories they want, either way, either. They can lie. I've had site managers on building sites that have just been psychotic. Absolutely just, you are not going to get on with these imbeciles. How they got in the position, I'll never know. But guess what? God hasn't given me a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. In my business, a builder went broke. $250,000 gone in one foul swoop. Just gone, taken. You look at some of these people today and they're not giving the attention to their relationship that they should, and they're saying that it's work or I've given you this, I've given you that, but they're missing the crux of the needs of their partner. And the sadness and the waste of love is really, really sad. I've spent a lot of my life trying to help people to have strong relationships, and sometimes we get stuck in our pride and we get balked. And we need to we need to consider that, if we want these people in our lives or not. And if we do want these people in our lives to love and to share and to be kind to and be intimate with, are we going to listen to what their cries for help are or not? because we'll lose them, or they'll lose us. If you're genuinely making an effort, I'm not talking about turning up stoned or fucking drunk or on drugs, and that person's a priority in your life, and they can't receive that, they can't understand that, then they're not ready for you. Or they've come in for the wrong reasons, or they're just not mature enough or able to read and navigate you as a person. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, because God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. But it's our responsibility when we're in a relationship to have the intelligence and the life experience to be able to present ourselves and perform ourselves in the relationship in a way in which is admirable. We're not always going to get it right. And that can be understood and forgiven and accepted. But if we choose not to find resolve and that person leaves, or you're sent away, or whatever the problem is, and we choose not to reflect and wonder how this has happened and what's going on, then we're not growing. We're being immature, we're being infantile. And we're not walking in that realm of God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. A lot of older women today, and I say this very carefully, but they've become masculine because they've been with men that haven't been able to perform. And they've had to play the role of a man and of a woman. Does that make an excuse? In some ways it's an excuse, but it should never have been that way. And usually these breakdowns are a result of immaturities and infantile behaviours and addictions and things like this that rob the sound mind. Because God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. This is Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, on the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel. Bye for now.